qualities and a very high personality. I am really thankful so much.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद संतोष। और अब मैं डॉक्टर अर्चना जी को मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूँ संबोधित करने के लिए। हमें
शोभा ओझा जी है ना?
जी जी।
Respected Chief Guest, Mrs. Shobha Ojha ji, dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries off the dais, and dear members of this August Youth Colloquium, Namaskar. Dear Archana Rathore ji, नवाजिश करम शुक्रिया मेहरबानी, मुझे अपना पक्ष यहाँ रखने के लिए दयानंद मेडिकल कॉलेज की तरफ से इनविटेशन देने के लिए तहे दिल से फिर एक बार शुक्रिया। Dr. Kanchan, Dr. Santosh, thank you so much for the words you spoke for me. But मेरी उपलब्धियों व डिग्रियों के उल्लेख के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। But let me tell you all, as much as I'm proud of my degrees, I'm proud of my gender. I'm proud of my parents who have revered this girl child and provided me with the topmost degree available in my profession. Of my in-laws who have not only welcomed but forced my parents to stay with me against the societal norms. I'm proud mother of a daughter who has been educated in Sri Ram College of Commerce and is employed in Singapore. And I belong to a family where daughters and daughter-in-laws have lighted the fire of their parents and in-laws. You all must be familiar with Dr. Rajni Sareen from Farrukhabad. She is my Masi. She was the first lady in UP State to light the fire of her mother-in-law. Why do I say all this? This issue is not something that I should boast of, but definitely I think my elaboration here will motivate many in this society on the issue of revering a girl child and treating her as an equal to the opposite gender. I am not anti-male, but yes, I believe that both genders are needed equally and in equal proportion, and a child, that for that matter, every human being should be respected irrespective of gender. I am a gynecologist by profession, and as this is a seminar on women, I would like to discuss some issues of women which are pertaining to our field. Starting from womb to tomb, I proceed to discuss them. I start with the issue of female feticide. I believe that the issue has been wrongly dealt with. PCPNDT was a very good law with good intention brought in force to prevent female feticide. But in spite of it being enforced for 20 years, it failed to control the declining female sex ratio. I tried to analyze it through data and sent a PowerPoint presentation to the Prime Minister's office, for which I received an appreciation letter from the Prime Minister's office, where I analyzed the reasons for female feticide and infanticide, and where I described as to why parents did not want a female child, where I started with data of rape, molestation, dowry deaths, eve teasing, cruelty by husband, acid attacks, and how culprits of such heinous crime escaped law. And so I suggested that if you want to control the declining female sex ratio, try understanding the reasons for this. Cure the reason, abolish the demand, and there will be no feticide. What you are doing now is forcing unwanted girls on parents who have already provided their share of girls to the society whom they value, and by preventing feticide where abortion is legal, क्या फेलियर ऑफ कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन पर जब आप अबॉर्शन करते हैं तो वो फीटिसाइड नहीं होता? तो उन पेरेंट्स को सज़ा क्यों जिन्होंने अपने शेयर सोसाइटी को ऑलरेडी दे दिए? उन पर अनवांटेड गर्ल चाइल्ड देकर क्या हम लड़कियों की वैल्यू घटा नहीं रहे हैं? Why can't we ask the families who have only male child, one or two, to bear a female child? Why can't we allow and use the technology of pre-gestational diagnosis to diagnose the fetus pre-gestationally and let the people design their family for a male and female gender and having both of them? Isn't a balanced family structure more welcome? Won't that solve our population problem too? In a study by Giriraj, he found that more than 90% of families were not afraid of law. They approached whoever they could for abortions. When doctors refused, dyes, quacks, pharmacists, over-the-counter took drugs and got abortions done. And such cases reach us as complications of hemorrhage and septic abortions and increase MMR. I have summed up the issue in a poem of mine, Revere the Girl Child. Guided by the NGOs, PCPNDT was brought in force to save the girl child. Court guided the government to use it for the good purpose of saving the girl child. But it failed to meet the purpose, instead made the genuine doctors nervous, for the female fetuses were still aborted and the government's plans were appallingly being thwarted. A category that had now emerged was that of negotiators in between the parents, dyes and quacks. It served the purpose of mediators. To them, the distraught parents were guided where illegal abortions were enduringly being provided. The abortions of ill-fated female fetuses continued unabated, with the parents giving in to the mess that the society had created. The pills were now provided over the counter by the unqualified, by all the chemists, druggists, which was all the more unjustified. They had absolutely no knowledge of the myriad of complications, and the money involved had become their biggest temptation. It has now become all the more clear that PCPNDT law can never be the ultimate frontier. If you want to save the girl child, and if you want to make her precious, the parents and society have to be made conscious. We have to build a society where the girl child is revered and each and every birth of a girl child is cheered, where the parents are not made to sell themselves for arranging for the dowry and are made to believe in spending and educating the girl child. On the contrary, where the society is educated to value a girl child through posters and media, stories of settlement of rape victims, widows and female performers should be the heart of such an encyclopedia, where the government is made to create stringent rules to protect the girl child and does away with the rules and laws which only increase the number of cases filed. A rule or law will never ever be successful in saving the girl child. If you really want to save her, change the societal norms which have gone wild. Change the concept from save the girl child to that of revering the girl child. After the issue of female feticide, I come to the issue of medical termination of pregnancy, that is abortions. We as gynecologists are regularly exposed to patients who hail from surrounding villages who have been given MTP pills or attempted MTP by quacks and general practitioners. Upon this, there is a new proposed amendment to the bill, to the law, which intends to make nurses and non-MBBS doctors of Ayush trained and they can be allowed to do MTP service, and they will be known as MTP service providers. I hereby register strong objection to this movement by the government. Till date, MTP was being done by MBBS trained and diploma and degree holders, DGO, MD, MS, gynecologists, and they were told to adhere to stringent laws while providing MTP to women who seek it. Keeping in mind that MTP should not be an alternative to contraception, promote contraception, do not promote abortion. Even after huge training and practice of 28 years since my post-graduation MS, I feel MTP is a special blind procedure that only a well-trained and experienced person can do. It cannot be even done by a cardiac surgeon if he is untrained. In such a scene, the proposed training, the nurses and non-MBBS doctors who don't have any clinical ward experience of any hospital is highly objectionable. MTP requires a good know-how of asepsis and skills. Here is again a poem. I am a poet at heart, so I cannot help myself from reciting another poem. To describe the plight of a female who landed up with perforation. Perforation is a hole in the uterus while performing abortion. With intestines pulled out of it by some unqualified person, which is written by me, and this is a usual scene which we see almost every other day. The lady says, I lay there bleeding, with my relatives pleading. Medical help was needed as the old MTP bill was superseded by the new drafted MTP Act, which was the government's pact. The doctors said the nurse had failed to assess the duration of pregnancy and had made a mess. As I had missed just one period, and the nurse was not experienced, she missed that I was 3 months pregnant, so she left me to bleed with all the remnants. My intestine too had been pulled out, which the nurse knew nothing about. The doctors shifted me to the OT to proceed with their duty. They did everything to save my life, and I was relieved of my strife. The doctor announced that I had lost a few inches of my intestine. In spite of that, to me, he looked to me so pristine. I pray to God that such a bill is withdrawn, which makes the women all the more the society's pawn. For this issue, again I gathered a panel of doctors and met the Secretary Health and was shocked to hear that top office bearers of our own association had suggested such a move. And when I went deeper, I was horrified to hear the reasons we found out. I collected societies, fought my own association's national head, and forced them to call an emergency managing committee meeting and general body meeting to take back this recommendation and put forth by them and revise their suggestions on the issue, and to allow only MBBS with training to perform the procedure. And from that day, I was labeled as an activist. Other than the feticide, abortion issues, there are many other issues of adolescents of geriatric female population, which are problems concerning menopause, which need to be taken care of by the government by providing aid to the program, that we plan often to spread awareness on the issues and to make aware the bureaucrats and politicians to draw policies for women. Diabetes in pregnancy has caught the government's eyes. Thyroid disease in pregnancy need to be incorporated in national programs to help women suffering with the disease being blessed with a live, healthy birth. To conclude, I say the government, media, judiciary and society should draw and believe in such norms so that not only a female fetus but each and every female is respected, protected, cheered from womb to tomb. Thank you.